2016 through 17 was the peak and the downfall of LEGO DC at the same time when you consider the LEGO Batman movie, which are sets that will not be covered in this video, by the way. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. It has to be a completely separate video. This video would take years to do otherwise. But we did have a lot of sets under the DC Superheroes brand that came out, about 12 of them. And I gotta say, I really do like a lot of them. I'm a big fan. I mean, some of them are definitely bad. There's definitely a split between the good and the bad in this ranking, but I'm a huge fan. I have most of these sets. I want to say like 80% of these sets, and the ones I don't have, I'll point out, of course, in the video. There were a lot of great figs. This was another expansion where we've got more and more exclusive figs that are really nice, and there's just a lot of good sets. So let's start out with number 12. In last place is set 76087, Flying Fox Batmobile Airlift Attack. Now, I know a lot of people might be kind of astonished that I put this in last place, considering usually the bigger the set, the higher it goes on a lot of my lists. But for this list, I really don't like this set. I'll be honest. This set is really bad. And a lot of the sets on this list are kind of fantastic in my opinion. So, you know, a bad set's going to be put really low here. I know a lot of people may be like, but the figs are fantastic. Man, imagine, like, it's the golden ticket for some of these characters. And it's like, while some of the figs are good, honestly, the builds really bring the set down, especially that piece of shit Flying Fox, which we will get into. And also, there is a fig build thing that is not good at all. That Steppenwolf is god-awful. Let's go on to the minifigs. Starting out, we have the Batman. And yeah, I do really like this Batman fig. I think some of the detailing's really great. I love the torso and leg printing, all those straps and whatnot. That looks really cool. I think it works well for the character that it's trying to emulate. It looks really nice. The bat symbol being in half, maybe not my favorite thing in the world, but I guess the detailing is okay for that. I like the gold here. I think the gold pops off really nice off this gray torso. The head's actually really expressive here, which is awesome to see. I love it when LEGO gives us these fucking really expressive looks, as you can see. You know, bro really about to scream fucking Martha for the 50th time. I do like how on the face prints for this Justice League line, they did give Batman some stubble. I think that looks nice for this version of Batman, for the Ben Affleck version, of course. And this is one of the only places I think this cowl looks good for a Batman. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this cowl, but when it's going after Ben Affleck, you know, his fucking big head in that Batman suit, I think it looks good with this cowl, especially with the short ears. Obviously, he has those in the movie. Overall, a really solid fig. Next, we have the Superman, and for some reason with this set, it doesn't have the dual molded legs. I mean, it's not the biggest deal to me personally, but I think for a set more expensive, usually we would get that version considering we got it on a set that was cheaper the year before. But, you know, I'm not saying much. It's not that big a deal anyways. I've never been the biggest fan of the Superman personally. I think the texturing on his torso is kind of, don't like the light blue. I don't like the way it pops off. I love the way the silver did in the Man of Steel suit. I always thought that was the better Snyder version in LEGO. I never really liked this one that much. A little too bright. The symbol's a lot more rounded, you know, just things like that. It never really fit with me. I also don't like the little skin tone showing at the top. That's a bit weird in my opinion. I also don't like the hair they use here. Honestly, whenever I think of Superman, I just think of that S hair they use. And honestly, I really love that hair on Superman. I've never liked this hair. I always thought it looked weird. And the face is also weird too. What the? Yeah, Superman in the fucking Snyder movies isn't going around, hey guys, how's it going? Just smiling here, you know. Want some candy? Like, what the fuck is this shit? I mean, I know I'm being a little harsh here. I just never really liked this fig. I never cared for this version. Then we have the Wonder Woman. I actually kind of really like this version, believe it or not. I know some people might not like it because it's based off the Snyder design, and that's kind of a design or whatever. But honestly, a lot of the detailing on this fig is great. It's really the only version that has the printed on arm detailing, which looks so nice in my opinion. And I don't know. I've always liked the darker color scheme, especially for this fig. I think it looks nice. Some of the printing around is really nice. A lot of that gold all around on the torso, the legs, even the top of the head looks really nice. And the hairpiece I always thought was really cool. You can't really turn the head with the hairpiece though. You know, my animation brain never liked it, but you know, it's pretty cool. I also love a lot of the little detailing, like the little indents on the pants, you know, to give it that little pattern. I don't know. It's a fantastic fig in my opinion. I really like this fig. Still doesn't beat out the OG though. Then we have the Cyborg. I'm a little conflicted on this fig because on the one hand, compared to the other Cyborgs, the detailing is really great. Some of the printing's fantastic, but on the other hand, it's like, it's kind of ugly. Like the torso, I mean, if you look at that torso and you think that looks great, like that weird thing down the middle, I know that's Snyder's design, but at the same time, it doesn't doesn't look good. It honestly looks kind of gross. It looks like a random fucking background on a fucking computer, dude. It looks like an old screensaver. I'm sorry. I don't like that pattern that much. The cool arm mold is nice. I love that. And the leg printing's really great. I don't know. I don't think Lego has ever really done a cyborg that well. I mean, 2015, I would say, is definitely the best. I actually quite enjoy that fig. You know, maybe they could have had a little more detail, but that's not even saying much. It's still a good fig. I just don't know. I guess this is my second favorite cyborg for all that means, really, because the ones past this aren't very good either. They look really just kind of basic and bland. I don't really care for them. I don't know. It's a good fig, but it's not fantastic. Moving on, we have the two parademons. We got the green one and the yellow one. Now, the green one's a little less rare. You get them in a couple more sets, like one more set than you do the yellow one. But that doesn't matter too much. All that matters is if the figs are any good. And, yeah. They actually are. They're quite fantastic, honestly. I love a lot of the detailing. I love the little skeleton detailing. I'm glad Lego went for that. Not to mention the printing all around, including that expression on the yellow parademon's face is awesome. And these wing pieces, I know they're that canvas, not canvas, but like that plastic material, which isn't fantastic, but it's better than paper. Let's be fair now. It feels like it's going to be a lot more quality. You could display it better either way. These are really solid figs. Overall, a good fig selection. Moving on to the builds, we start out with our beautiful Lord and Savior Steppenwolf. Not really. I kind of don't like this build at all, honestly. I don't know. It's just not my thing. I think the tiling's a little out of place. It's all bulky, especially towards the bottom. I think Lego only included this to give us just a villain for the set. Really, I don't like a lot of it. There's no tiling in certain places. The joints are just ball joints, which I don't mind ball joints usually, especially when you build around them. But here they really just didn't build around them at all. I mean, come on, these skimpy ass 3-finger arms and that shit. The molds are cool. I mean, the head mold looks ugly as shit, but it's cool. No, it's not the mold itself, obviously, just the printing on the face. Dude looks like he's got to take a shit. And we have the torso. Cool mold. Maybe better brick built. You know, I don't know. We get better brick built, literally big figs in this video, and I just not a big fan of this. Not a big fan. Then we have the Batmobile. This is one of the few minifig scale Batmobiles I actually don't have, but I have seen it before in real life thanks to my good buddy, my little best bald friend Jake. So I have seen it in real life, and I do enjoy it a lot. I'm a big fan of this style of Batmobile, especially when converted into Lego. I do think the BVS one is maybe better. That's just because this one's more, you know, tanked out. It's more like in battle mode, so it's okay. You know, half of it, the cockpit's taken out for a fucking cannon, but the back tiling is definitely better with these, you know, shield triangular pieces, whatever you like to call them, to tile off the back. I think that looks nicer. Some of the weaponry is some cool detailing, and some of the stickers on the side look nice. Otherwise than that, though, I think it's just a fantastic build. I'll go more in depth when I get to the other Batmobile. This one, pretty good Batmobile. Then we have the Flying Fox. This thing of beauty. Yeah. Nah, I really don't like this. Not a big fan of this build at all. I never have been, really, honestly. It's just, it felt clunky. It's a mess. It's just big to be big. And more than any of that, it's just kind of ugly to look at. I mean, let's be fair now. I mean, black and red, cool color scheme and all, but otherwise than that, it's not really that good to look at. Some of the tiling's okay, but yeah, it just looks like a big piece of nothing. Honestly, it's one of the worst Batman vehicles I think we've ever gotten. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76075, Wonder Woman Warrior Battle. I think this is a pretty good set. I've always had an affinity to liking it more than not liking it. I really love the build of the plane, and I think the minifigs are really cool. I do remember the set being really hard to get in the US. I remember it was like a Toys R Us exclusive or kind of a D2C type deal, so I never got it personally. I kind of wish I did at the end of the day because I really do like the Wonder Woman fig, and that plane build's really cool. Going into the figs, we have the Wonder Woman. I'm actually a huge fan of this version of the fig. I actually like it more than the previous version I talked about, which is the Justice League version, which has a darker color scheme. But here, I think the lighter actually works a little better for my taste personally. Not to mention, it just looks really nice. I mean, the way that it pops off, that light blue, the way it pops off with that red, I've always loved that. A lot of the light gold printing also looks fantastic. It's a brighter gold than on the other fig. It also has some good little printing details like this strap across. I think that looks really nice. Overall, again, phenomenal fig in my opinion. Probably one of the best Wonder Woman we've gotten. Still like the comic versions better though. Next up is the Steve Trevor, and the real highlight of this fig is his torso print. I just love it. It gives that kind of army, you know, gangreenish vibe, just on with the jacket above the next jacket with the sweater on the bottom. It looks really nice in my opinion. I think like wardrobe wise, it was the right thing for Lego to do, not just to make some basic ass sweater torso and be like, oh yeah, well here's your Steve Trevor. I think this actually kind of fits what the character is a lot. Otherwise than that though, it's kind of just a basic fig, you know, it's what you'd expect, you know, basic ass headpiece, basic hair piece, you know, brown legs. I think they all kind of contrast each other. I think the brown legs contrast the green really well. I think it's a good fig. I don't know if it's the greatest fig to encapsulate what Chris Pine looks like, but Chris Pine looks kind of basic in general, so it's like, you know, it's not that big a deal in my opinion. I think it's a good fig. Just like in the last set, we have a little, you know, buildable figure. We got our Ares. I think this is much better than the Steppenwolf, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't have flimsy-ass limbs or any of that stuff. It's built very similar to Grop from the Harry Potter theme in, like, 2020, if you remember that. I've covered that before, of course. It was built more to be this big-looking minifig. It's also similar to the Ant-Man, too. Can't forget about Giant Man, my boy. It has some great tiling like those figs, such as on the legs, where we have these two cheese slopes intersecting to make a knee joint. We also have on the bottom, like, to make these gray metal fucking boots on the bottom, you know, just to make it look like armor. I think it looks really nice, especially with those parts at the top. I don't know how to describe them exactly, but, you know, they go on nice. And I really do like that they added some, you know, translucent orange. I think that looks good as well. In the movie, of course, he has some, you know, fire on his details, some symbolism. So I think it looks nice here. I think my big, like, maybe my only issue with the fig is the face area itself. It does look a little, there's a little bit of weird printing. It's a little off in my opinion. I wish they changed it that much. Like, where'd bro's mouth go? But it's not that bad in my opinion. It's still some good fucking detailing. I like how the stickers combine. They look nice. I know some people will be like, oh, the gaps, you know, it's weird. I don't find it that big a deal, to be honest. I don't think it's that bad. I know aligning the stickers might be an issue for some, but I don't mind it too much. And I think the helmet's fantastic. I love the way they built this with those extruding bones and just the side. It all looks like a skull. It's really cool in my opinion. I really like this buildable fig. The last thing to talk about in the set is the plane build, which I really like and I think is my favorite part of the set. The way it's built is just fantastic, whether it's those, you know, long wings at the front. While proportionately they're a bit odd, I don't know the stability personally because I don't have them. They do look pretty cool in my opinion, not to mentioning some of the sticker detailing. Well, that star, that might be a print, I'm not too sure. A little detail I like on this plane a lot that I don't think a lot of Lego planes do correctly is in the front where they have the motor. You can see all the light gray. The way it transitions into the dark tan, I think just looks super nice in my opinion. It makes it look like a full motor instead of just that one round piece at the front. And there's a bit of detailing here that's nice, such as these two side panels that go up. I think that looks really good. I also like the way the back looks, whether it's that tail wing with that star detail again, or the two side wings. I think that looks super nice. I do wish maybe they tiled it off a little bit more towards the front and the back, but that's not even that big a deal in my opinion. One thing I will say about this set, maybe one of my bigger criticisms, is I do wish it had a little more, maybe if they had a little bit more of a set piece type deal, just this little side build, I think it would be a lot nicer. I think it would add a little more depth to the set, because as of now, the set feels kind of jumbled with just a plain and a buildable fig, but it's still a good set overall in my opinion. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next is set 76085, Battle of Atlantis. I really enjoy this set for what it is. It has a good fig selection, and it's an interesting idea for a build. Starting with the minifigs, we started with the Aquaman. I think this Aquaman looks pretty decent. I think they could have changed him a little bit, specifically with the arm color in general. I think it looks weird being just straight gold. I think maybe it should have been dual molded, or it should have just been no sleeve. I get that no sleeve is wrong, you know, for the movie, or even dark green, to be honest. I know the movie character has sleeves on, but at the same time, does it not just look weird with the gold arms? I do, however, enjoy the rest of the detailing on the torso and legs. The scale printing and some of this divided printing looks nice. You know, the gold little wings on the bottom. Then you move up to the face and hair, which has a really good look. This scruffy old Jason Momoa look, which I think is awesome that Lego put this much detail. Lego was on their game when it came to detail on figs back in this era. Also, the hair piece is super nice. It has these white wings, and it gives off this vibe of just this flow through the hair. It's very bushy and long, and it has this texture on the top that pops out. Great hairpiece. I think it's the best they could have done for the character. Overall, a solid fig. Not my favorite version of Aquaman, not even Jason Momoa's Aquaman. That's more due to resemblance of the suit and the suit in general, but it's still a good fig nonetheless. Then we have the two Atlantean guards. I actually really enjoy both of these figs. I think the detailing is super nice on the torso and legs, and I love the helmet with its fish shape. I think that looks super nice, and I think these being in all gold just looks fantastic in my opinion. They both have generic faces, which is whatever. Honestly, the face prints don't matter that much. I think these are just some solid ass figs. Then we move on to the build, which is this kind of Atlantean structure. It's decent. I love the limestone colors here mixed with this trans blue blue at the top. I think that looks super nice. Some of the play features are a little They really make this set flimsy and a pain in the ass to like even carry around. I've had this set since 2017. It's still somehow built, but since a lot of these are built on jumpers and that play feature at the top is really easily, it just falls down whenever you lift it. It really becomes a pain in the ass. I like some of the detailing too, though, like where this trans blue triangular piece is at the top with that rock in front. I think that looks super nice. I think all the colors look nice, not to mention I think the seaweed detailing looks nice. And this does come with a mother box. I did forget to mention this in the Flying Fox ranking, but all three of these sets have mother boxes, of course, for like the three from the movie, but you know, I don't think anyone cares because the movie's dog shit. Anyways, I do still enjoy this set for what it is. I think it's really good, especially for the price point at $15. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76053, Gotham City Cycle Chase. I've always loved this set. In fact, I'm very nostalgic for it. It was one of those sets that I first got that I kept built. During like late 2016, I really started thinking about becoming like big into making brick films. And that's when I realized one day, you know, instead of just throwing all these sets in bins and letting them fall apart, I might as well just, you know, let them stay together and, you know, put them up. I still have the set built to this day. And I like it. I like the two builds and I like the fig selection. Another thing to mention about this set is this and another set in this wave were based on the Suicide Squad movie, but not actually licensed because Lego can't license out to a rated R movie because it's a kid's toy. And who would want to license to that piece of shit garbage movie anyways? Let's get into the figs. Starting out, we have the Batman. Now, I've talked about this Batman before in another ranking, so I'm not going to go insanely in depth. What I will say, I'm not the biggest fan of the torso, especially with like this white shine on it. I think that looks kind of weird in my opinion. I don't know. I know it's to represent, you know, light shining down on him and its reflections, but it doesn't look good in my opinion. I also don't like the skin tone they use on his face. I just don't think it fits Batman. I think it's a little too dark. Personally, I would much rather have the skin tone they used before for Batman. And I don't like this cowl that much either. It works under certain scenarios for certain Batmen, but for a normal Batman, I don't know, I don't like it. Personally, I just don't think it looks good. I think the other two before this looked a lot better. It's one of my lesser favorite basic Batman. I still enjoy some parts of it. Like, I guess the utility belt and the bat symbol are okay. It's not the worst fig ever. I just have some issues with it. Then we have the Deadshot, and ooh, do I like this figure, boys. I really love this fig. Now, we haven't gotten a Deadshot since this, and the fact that we even have a Deadshot, we should be happy about, considering he is an assassin, and, you know, Lego and their, you know, their strict rules. I'm shocked we even got this, but it's because of the movie, of course. I do love this fig. I love the printing all around, whether it's his holsters, his compartments on his belt, the colors, you know, the classic red and yellow, which we see on so many comic characters just pop off. It looks so nice. Not to mention the head print's great, of course, with his one eye to look down. Also with the target sight on his chest, I think that looks super nice. I know a lot of people have complaints about this fig. Oh, you know, legs aren't dual molded. What the hell, Lego? But like, the printing's kind of fire, guys. Like, we gotta admit this now. The printing on this fig is fire. I also like the arm printing. This is a fig that like genuinely did need arm printing. I do not like the arm printing argument for a lot of figs, but for this one, it is warranted considering the guns on his arm are like a big part of his character. So I'm glad we got it here. And I just love this fig, man. It's so much detailing on it, so much of the printing. It's fantastic. All right, time to stop glazing for a little bit. Then we have the Harley Quinn. This is a good Harley Quinn fig, but it's not my favorite for sure. I think there were even better versions of this design, the Suicide Squad design. This was good for a first attempt, you know, a first draft, a prototype version. But now, when we advance, we got it better. And honestly, I think it's personal preference is one of the reasons why I don't like this fig as much as I even used to. I used to really like this fig. This used to be maybe like one of my favorite Harley Quinns ever because I really like that Suicide Squad design. But I think over time, I've learned that the Jester design, I think, just looks way better and fits the character way more. So that's just a personal preference thing. I like some of the detailing on here. You know, the interlooping of red and blue looks nice. Not to mention the hairpiece. It's a good mold to have with that red and blue. I think they interloop it like Two-Face, except, you know, they separate it a little more. And I think that's a good design. Overall, the printing's nice too. You got some gray belts. You know, you got the straps around her waist, which I think it all looks great. The thing is, it's just not my favorite fig in the world anymore, mainly because of personal preference. Moving on to the builds, we have two bikes in this set. Now, I know these builds are a little controversial.
The builds, however, are pretty bad. Both cycles are oversized in their scale.
Because, oh, they're bulky bikes and, oh, they're just here to pad out the price. You know, it wouldn't have been $20 with these two builds. But in my opinion, I actually like these bikes. I don't know. Maybe I'm smoking crack or something. But these are both really good. The Harley Quinn one I actually especially like. I really love a lot of the extra detailing. I also think the exhaust pipes in the back look really cool. The fact that they added that metallic gray with the gold at the end and the way it goes out with that, you know, part that they have at the end. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's really nice. I like some of the tiling around on the sides, especially when we have these jut out little tiles with the indents in the middle. I think those look nice. One of the little details I really like about this bike is the little handle type piece where you could put Harley Quinn's hammer in and have it go up and down, and you could take it out whenever you want. I think that's really cool. I think that's a nice little detail to add to this bike. Just a really good Harley Quinn vehicle in my opinion. Moving on, we have the Bat bike. Now I know we've gotten a million Bat bikes before, and this definitely isn't my favorite one, but I do still really enjoy it. I like some of the little details around, especially the tiling where it kind of has this peak and this valley and then another peak. I think that looks fantastic. I like on the side we have the bat symbol with some tiling. I like when they put effort into that. I also like the little play feature they add here where you can move out the turrets, you know, to the front, and you can move them to the back and they fit there quite nice. You also have some good Technic built exhaust pipes in the back. I think those look really nice. And it's built really well too. It's very stable. It's all Technic, the bike, so you're not going to be able to like just, you know, twist it around and destroy it. And it honestly looks fantastic in my opinion. I think the bigger profile can work for this. Sure, with a minifig you could think it looks odd. I don't think it's that big to where it looks just proportionally goofy. Like a lot of the sets we were getting, like that fucking trike in that Ace set. Dude, you're telling me that's not the goofiest build ever. Anyways, I like this Bat bike and I like this set overall. It's a great set. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76044, Clash of the Heroes. I really like this set for the price point, especially. It's fantastic. Probably my favorite $10 set ever, to be honest. There are definitely some close ones, especially superhero and city sets. I feel like this is a range that they do very well. I think the build in here is a really cool and interesting idea, and I really like the minifigs. The first fig to talk about is the armored Batman, and this is a fantastic Batman. You probably heard that from several people by now. When this set came out, I remember everyone was like, this is the best Lego Batman we've gotten ever, and it's for a good reason. I mean, it's specifically molded parts and it's certain printing looks really nice. People were creaming over this shit, bro.
But I really love this Batman, this armored edition.
Let's check out this awesome Batman minifig.
Now, this Batman figure is really cool. And I think this is the main reason why everyone is going to be trying to buy this set.
I love so much about it. I love that it's actually a different color than just black. They made it the flat silver, which I think looks really nice here. And of course, it's more accurate to the film in general because this is licensed off BVS. Some of the parts on this are really cool too. I really love the chest protection mold. I love that chest protector so much. That looks so cool. It's a really nice metal armor plate to put on top. And even if you don't like that, you can take it off. And the fig still looks really good. It has great printing up and down the torso and the legs. It really accentuates this fig and the armor. You know, sometimes Lego can fall a little flat. They can put a couple lines on there and be like, oh yeah, you know, it's armor. But here it works really well. The glow in the dark head's really cool, I guess, if you'd like that stuff. Still though, like a fucking fire fig. I've already talked about this bum ass, crusty ass Superman, so we're not gonna go into that. We'll get into the build itself. Now, a lot of people probably see this build and they're like, it's just a rooftop little area. Who the fuck cares about that, bro? Why'd you rank this above? Dude, you ranked this above the Flying Fox, the greatest set of all time? Yeah, because this is a better value for your money, and because in honesty, quality-wise, it's a better set. I mean, you look at what you get here. You get a nice rooftop area. You get two great figs for $10. It's well worth it, in my opinion. And this rooftop build's great. There's a lot of little just details on it. I love the bat symbol, and it's also a play feature that you can shoot out, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but at the same time, it doesn't matter too much. You know, that's for the kids, but it fits in really nice as just a normal bat symbol. Up to this point, I don't think we had any bat symbols, so getting at least one was nice. I love the box where the Kryptonite can hide in. I think that's a nice feature, not to mention they have the wedge over here, the little overhang, the sloped part, so you can put the box on top and it still fits in there, and you could take it off and it wouldn't look that much different. I guess maybe my least favorite part about the build is the little turret thing. I mean, sure, it looks looks okay, but when you remove it, it's pretty useless. It's easily removed because it's held on by a jumper. So I guess that's meant to be for the play features. I don't see it as that big a deal. I also just love the architecture of the rooftop itself. I love the great piece they use on top. Whenever they use that piece, I like it. Lego, use that piece more, bro. I swear. It looks fantastic. Was that supposed to be in the Temple of Doom set? The beautiful, mystical, never coming out Temple of Doom set? Lego, you fucks. I will kill you, bro. No. I just like that. I love the colors they went with. I love the light gray mixed in with that dark tan. And they even have some dark orange here, which fits in just super nice. And it kind of bounces off. And I think it works really well here. And overall, this is a fucking fantastic build. Fantastic set. I could glaze this shit all day. It was well worth the value. Dude, I got this for being an honor roll in 6th grade, bro. Well, what were you doing when you were in fucking 6th grade? I know you weren't living my high life. That's what I thought. Up next on the ranking is 76054 Batman Scarecrow Harvest of Fear. Now, this set might be a little low for some people. A lot of people probably really like it, especially with the Harvester build, you know, the Tractor build, and the great minifig selection. Personally, for me, it's a little lower, especially because of that Batcopter. I think it's kind of trash. There's one on eBay right now for 80 bucks, and I'm really trying to cop it. You'll know by the time this video's up. Oh, diddly diddy, right? No diddy, though. We gotta remember no diddy.
Oh, hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's just up.
We gotta talk about the set critically. Look, I don't make rankings to talk about my buyings on eBay, you know, my piecings together, my offering to you. Let's talk about the minifigs of this set. I want to first talk about the gas mask Batman. This is actually kind of a banger fig, I'm not gonna lie. I love the way the green mixes with the black. We don't get that color scheme ever for Batman. We got it for Spider-Man once, but that wasn't a sad excuse for a set. For any of you who have the spider layer, rest in peace, my friend. I know you've had a hard life. Anyways, this fig also has a cool trend that they do with a lot of the Lego Batman in specific suits. Specifically, the one I think of that they do it with as well is the 2014 scuba suit, which is where they go all the way. They give it a nice face print with this kind of texture that isn't the normal one. They change it up. A lot of people might not be a fan of this specialty printing. They might just like the normal face instead and think that looks better, which is all right. You could just replace it very easily. It's not going to change anything. Well, it'll change the look, of course, but you won't have green eyes. You know, the green eyes are badass. Not to mention his utility belt has nice little gas canisters, and it's, you know, it's light fucking gray. This guy's base. He doesn't have the yellow utility belt. That would look weird as shit. But here, they really mixed the colors well, and they didn't go out of the way to do some weird shit. I really like this fig. All right, time to go on a bit of hater mode here. This fucking Scarecrow is dog shit, guys. I do not like this fig. This fig is just kind of disgusting. I don't know what Lego's thing is with orange on this fig, but it's just the whole fig. The whole fig is like orange. It doesn't make sense to me. The fact that even his face print has some like orange seed in there through little stitching, I think looks really weird. Like, bro thinks he's rapping a gang. I don't know, maybe you like this. Maybe you're a fan of more of a sketched out, like, accurate Scarecrow, like, you know, accurate to an actual Scarecrow. I don't know, maybe that's just you, bro. You know, you do you. But to me personally, this is trash, bro. Every Lego Scarecrow has outpaced this by far. Even the one that you probably think is the shittiest is better than this one, bro. You could hate the Dark Knight one we got a couple of years ago. That's better than this, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. This is my mortal enemy. I never want to see this thing on the streets. To change pace a little bit, we have the Killer Moth, which is straight fire, by the way. This fig is absolute class right here. This is how you make a minifig Lego. Right here, this beautiful Killer Moth. He has everything great about him. That molded helmet piece is fantastic. Now, of course, I know a lot of us would have liked the Lego Batman 1 version, you know, maybe a little bit more. But here, the way that they molded it with the 2 stingers on the end, I think it looks super nice. I love that they added the leg printing, of course, the stripes they needed to. And the torso is exactly what we needed with all the printing we needed. We don't need much more than that. And they used the nice molded wing pieces and they made them orange. It's almost a perfect fig, pretty much. I'll go into the farmer real quick because there's not much to talk about him. I do like the face print. I've talked about this face print before. It's very interesting and unique, and I love that Lego made it. It's a lot more expressive than a lot of the other face prints we get in sets. It's a really cool torso, too. I love the stains. I love the wife beater he's got on him. I think it's a great detail, and for a very simple fig with very little printing, I think it's really cool, and it's a nice fig to get in the set. I'm sure someone will call it filler, but we got the tractor. I mean, getting the farmer is a pretty cool, you know, it's a pretty cool thing to add on, and I think it adds on to the theme of the set of being, you know, a harvest of fear on someone's farm. I think it's awesome. And the last fig to talk about is the Blue Beetle, and of course, if this fig was released nowadays, I just have to mention this. Some motherfucker motherfucker would be complaining about leg printing. You guys know it. You know there's gonna be that one guy who was a fucking huge Star Wars fan, cares all about his clone printing. He's gonna go in there and be like, actually, there's no line leg printing on here. Like, bro, take your pills, bro. I don't know what to tell you. This is a fantastic fig. The printing we got seems to be enough to me, especially because we got dual molded legs, which work really well. They also gave him really good wings in the back with this pattern, this kind of honeycomb pattern, which I think looks super nice. And we also have a little molded attachment around the neck, which is to represent the arms in the back and to give some nice texturing in the front. And there's a little bit of black printing in the middle, which is okay. I think if I had one complaint with the printing, it would be that, considering on most designs, Blue Beetle's like colored area that's black in the center of his neck usually is just like a straight geometric area, not a circle. But honestly, for this fig with the interpretation, it's not that big a deal. Also, the head's great. There's really nothing to complain about. I think overall this is a solid fig. Super expensive, but as we know, that's basically every exclusive fig or character that's been released once ever. They're all gonna be expensive. LEGO will never re-release them because they hate us. There are 3 builds in this set. The first one I'll talk about is the tractor. There's not much to this tractor, but what I see, I do like. I really love the way they designed the front, especially. They use those arch parts, those 2x2 arches, which I think work really well here. Not to mention the red parries off well with the black and the silver gray on top, which looks super nice. Not to mention there is some other fine detailing on here. We have a vertical exhaust moving up, which I'm glad they added. It really adds a bit of a feature, you know, gives it kind of this train look, you know, this steam engine look. I think it's super nice. I also love the tiling towards the back, especially over those wheels. That's great. And overall, I think it's a really solid build. We move on to the Batcopter. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of this Batcopter personally. This is very much a personal preference thing. I really don't like this Batcopter. I just don't like the colors. I think it looks a lot like an Imaginext Batcopter, to be honest. I think it's built really weird and bulky. It uses a lot of these big parts instead of specifically molded or smaller parts that, you know, kind of make it fit better. It has these huge stickers. It looks very Duplo-y in my opinion. I don't know how to describe it. It looks weird. I do like the propellers at the top, the fact that there's a lot of those. I like that because when you spin it around, it would look a lot better. I do think it does look a bit bulky though. That's my big problem with this. It's really bulky. It's a really big build. I don't get why they just couldn't compact it. Also, blue on the Batcopter, not my favorite design choice. Then you have the Scarecrow Harvester, probably the best vehicle build of the set. It's really designed nicely. I wouldn't say it's the best thing in the world, but for what you get, it's pretty solid. I love a lot of the detailing all around with that dark tan with all those stickered parts that are tiled off. I think those look fantastic, and they add a little bit of extra detail with the brokenness of it. Also, I think what's always been my favorite part about this build is the little gas area in the back with the gas bombs. I've always thought that was super nice. You know, it could just be a Scarecrow Harvester without that, but the fact that they have that, I think really adds depth to it. I'm a big sucker for stuff like that. Even on Scarecrow's biplane where it had those pumpkin bombs, I thought that was awesome. Anything with pumpkins or fear gas, like, you know, and it pops off so well considering the darker color design they used here. So I'm a fan of that. There's also a rail at the front, which I think is an amazing design detail. It's a very unique build, and I do like that for Scarecrow where they're going for this farm design, you know, Scarecrow on a farm. Ooh. I think that's awesome, and it's a great set aesthetically. I just think some of the builds fall flat and one of the figures fall flat, but the things that work well really work well. Overall, a pretty good set. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76045, Kryptonite Interception. I've always been a big fan of the set, whether it's the builds or the minifigs themselves. I think everything in the set is fantastic. And talking about the minifigs, we're going to start out with the Batman. I like this Batman. It's based on Batfleck, of course, the second one we're talking about in this video. And the only really unique thing to talk about is his torso, which has some great little printing. You have the texturing, which is meant to show that this is a matte finish. It has this Kevlar, you know, tactical gear feel, which honestly looks really cool on a fig. Usually this is something I feel like would be on like a fake fig and to add detail, but LEGO does it really well here. I also like the bat symbol. Not a fan of the BVS bat symbol at all. Not a fan of the Batfleck bat symbol, but I really like the way it looks on this fig for some reason. I don't know. Maybe because it's so small but big in proportion here. It just looks really nice. I also like the utility belt. I'm glad they went with this darker gold and not a bright yellow. I think that would look just weird. Obviously, it's more accurate to a dark gold, and it's awesome in my opinion. opinion. The head doesn't fit here for Batfleck, in my opinion, and I do like the dual molded legs, but I've talked about those features ad nauseum to this point. Yeah, just a pretty solid Batman fig, in my opinion. Then there are the LexCorp henchmen. I'm going to talk about these two separately. Let's start out with the dark brown legs one. I love this fig. Honestly, I love this fig. This is my favorite of the two. The only thing that differentiates the two is the head and hair combo, and I think the head and hair combo here is better. I just love the way it looks. I love the face. It's just such a depressing face. To me, this is what a guy working in the LexCorp warehouse looks like, you know? Just some tired old fucking guy trying to get a smoke, you know? And I like his hairpiece too. I think that adds a bit. I know this hairpiece looks weird to me personally because I always think of that 2012 Joker when I see it. But when I see it on him, for some reason it just fits well. I mean, imagine someone with this hair in real life. That'd be fucking creepy. The best part about these figs is their torso though. I like this torso so much. This was when Lego cared about little detailing that mattered a lot. Here we have one thing that just adds so much to this fig. This fig would have been cool with the torso, you know, nice green jacket, but we have a LexCorp badge. I mean, to me, that's awesome. I love it when Lego acknowledges things like LexCorp. They used to do it a lot from like 2016 to 2018. I mean, now they'll refuse to even acknowledge Superman. So getting LexCorp is fantastic. Just adds some depth to the characters, but just makes the detailing so much better. The other henchmen, the only difference is the head and hair. I just think the head and hair aren't as good here. I do think they fit well though. I don't know. I feel like I'm looking at one of those guys driving the fucking free candy van right now. It's still a great fig though. And I like the fig selection in this set a lot. Probably the weaker part of the set compared to the builds, but you know, I still very much enjoy it. Now we move on to the two builds. Now, of the two builds, which one is better? That's up to your discretion. Personally, I'll go with the one I'll talk about second, but I still really like this LexCorp forklift. I think this is a fantastic build. I don't know if Lego's made a better forklift since. I'm sure they have, but the way that they built this, I really enjoy. There's one thing I don't like about this forklift. It is the play feature where you can flick him out. I mean, obviously for the story of the set or whatever, it is cool because you're flicking out the bad guys that go fucking flying, but I just don't see a purpose for it in my opinion. I'd much rather not have it and just have it stable. Either way, it's fine though. I love the LexCorp stickers on the side. Those add a lot to it, and the fact is it's the same stickering that they use on the helicopter in the other set from this wave that has Lex Luthor in it. I also quite enjoy the forklift itself, the maneuvering. I love that it's held in by that rubber band with some of these molded parts. Push it down, and if you push it down, it goes straight up. Obviously not accurate to an actual forklift, which is manually controlled, and you can move the arms anywhere at any time, and the forks you can move in at any time. Here you can't do that, but this is a Lego set. We're not talking about a fucking forklift. I love that there's a palette full of Kryptonite too. I think that's a fantastic detail. Also, the rounded tiling all around I think is a fantastic design. They use these 4x1, you know, rounded parts with the 2x1 indent in the middle, which I think look fantastic, and they added all around. I just think it's awesome in my opinion. I love the way this thing is built. Now we get to talk about the Batmobile. In my opinion, this is the best version of the Snyderverse Batmobile. Yeah, I do think it's better than the battle design, though I do also really like that one. I love a lot of things about this. This does what that set did well, except it's not fully, you know, tanked out. I still like the molded, specifically, elements for the cockpit. I like the tiling all around. In the front, I like the way it indents down. I do think that on the bottom, where it kind of curves up, it's a little bit of a weird area, but it's not that big a deal. I love the little, you know, inserts you put at the top that act as kind of guns towards the front. Those look awesome, the little flag type things. Overall, I think this is just a solid build, though. There's not much for me to talk about. I already went into a lot of what I like about this build on the tank version. I do just think this is the better version, in my opinion. This is actually one of my favorite Batmobiles ever. I enjoyed animating with it a lot, and yeah, it's a great Batmobile, and this is a really good set. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76055, Batman Killer Croc Sewer Smash. I've always been a big fan and proponent of this set. I really love everything about it. I love the minifig selection, and I'm actually a big fan of the build. Speaking of said minifigs, there are 4 here to talk about. Obviously not going to talk about the Batman. We're going to start with the Red Hood. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way with this figure is the design they went with. This doesn't pertain to the quality of the fig at all. The fact is, for the torso, they went with the design with the bat symbol on it. Now, depending on your personal preference, you may or may not like this. Personally, I'm more more a fan of him without the bat symbol. I think it just makes him more of an individual character and looks better, you know, under the Red Hood maxing, you know, with my antiquated sense of morality. I do get it, though. They went with the Bat family version. You know, he's supposed to be a hero in this set, so I can live with it for now. I do like the detailing on the fig otherwise, though. Even on the torso, I like it. I do wish it was a little bit of a darker jacket, but I don't mind any of the printing there at all. Also, I do think the head is a great print, and overall, what I would have done for Red Hood. I don't think it needs an exterior hood. Overall, it is a solid fig. I really wish they went with the other design, though. Next up is the Captain Boomerang. This is the best Captain Boomerang we have in LEGO. If you disagree, you know, we can throw some hands down. You know, it's all cool. I really like the beanie piece here. I think the printing on the front is fantastic. Of course, having a boomerang on it, a metallic boomerang, I think that pops off really well, and I think it looks really nice. The torso print's fantastic as well. Of course, he has like this little towel, bandana, ascot type thing in the front, which looks fantastic. It adds a little bit of detail. You know, Australian man himself. You know, he's gonna chuck a boomerang through someone's fucking head. Speaking of those, he has a couple hanging off from his torso, which is a really nice detail. You know, doesn't have a utility belt, has to put them somewhere. Of course, some pocket printing for all two of you who care, and there's also light printing, but it's not that much, so to me it doesn't matter at all, to be honest. Next, we have the katana, which is a serviceable fig. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I do like some of the detailing, like the arm printing on the right arm looks really nice, and the dual molded legs are cool, but otherwise than that, for me, this is kind of just a whatever fig. I don't like the way the color changes on her like 3 times throughout the torso. I get black and gray, but then we have to include light gray. Like, do we really need a light gray here? I mean, I would have preferred a metallic silver. Also, it's very inaccurate to the character. I mean, kind of just has a skin tone in a lot of places. It's an okay fig. Then we move on to the man, the big fig killer Croc. I am a huge fan of this. I know a lot of people may not like it. A lot of people may like 2017 one more, which is, it's a take. For me, though, it's definitely on the level of the 2006. If not 2006, maybe a little better. This may be a little better. Can't really tell from there. I love the design on here. I like the printing they used on the face, you know, with the scales and with the eyes with no pupils, which makes him look less human, which is really nice. And also his, of course, teeth, his choppers. It all looks fantastic. Also, of course, the blue jorts, you know, my man's rocking with them. They look all good. And I'm sure some people might not like how green he is, probably think he should be more green like the 2006 fig. I think it's fine here. The one thing after actually having this fig, his head is really small, which is weird. But otherwise than that, I really like this. Then we move on to the builds. There are 2 in the set. The first we're going to be talking about is the Croc little chomper. I call it the Croc chomper. This thing is, looks-wise, it's not good. However, I think I've grown to like it a little more over the years. I used to really not like it before, but the functionality's fun, and what it serves to the set I like, giving the villains a vehicle. Of course, Captain Boomerang has his fucking booster seat. And Croc has his own little area where you can put the big fig down, and then you move it back and forth, and it, you know, the mouth chomps, it opens up and down, which I actually like. I like the functionality of that. I think it's fun. It's fun to just roll around and have it chomp. It's built okay. It's not gonna like break apart or anything. The tail especially, I was surprised, was actually really sturdy. The teeth being yellow held in by that, you know, that rubber bracket. I think that's nice too. It's not a great looking build, but functionality, it's fun. It's an alright little, you know, addition to the set. Then we have the Bat Tank. This is a good Bat Tank. I think 2007 is a better one, but that doesn't take down the quality of this one. I just think personally, the design itself, a little bit of that was taken away for the play feature in the front with the battering ramp, which in a sense is actually kind of a cool play feature. Personally, for me though, I don't see as much appeal as I did when I was young. I do still think the design is decent. I love a lot of the weird tiling, especially like the antenna work we get around in the back and on the sides here. I think that's kind of interesting. I also like the rounded cockpit. That's really cool to me. The scale makes this feel like an actual tank too. It doesn't feel like a small build. I really enjoy that part. I'm also always a sucker for when LEGO adds the tank treads on a build, and when they added them here, I thought that was really nice. I think they look great here too, especially when they're split. Well, on the old one, I like that style more where they're just going all the way through. Here it works well, especially for the build being a more modern type of version. Overall, I do think it's a solid build. I almost forgot to talk about the Red Hood bike. You're not going to catch me lacking there. There's not much to talk about with it, really. It's a good little bike. It's made out of the bike mold that we see in a lot of sets, and it's all right, you know, not too special. Up next on the ranking is at 76056, Batman Rescue from Ra's al Ghul. I'm a big fan of the figs, and I actually like the builds, which is weird to say because I feel like people don't like the builds of the set that much. First fig to talk about is the Desert Batman. I really like the torso on this fig. I love all the detailing on there, especially because it has like that honeycomb pattern that usually goes along with the desert aesthetic. You know, I remember it in like the Dune movies, of course. I'm really glad they added it here. It also has some nice printing with the ab work, and the bat symbol being brown's a cool little feature. Also the utility belt brown. It's really cool we got this in dark tan. I really like that. His face is the dark tan here, which of course I'm not a fan of. Even if it is on sand Batman, where it maybe makes a little more sense, because you could say he's been out in the desert for a long time. He's got some, you know, tan from the sun. I just personally don't like it. But it's still a really good fig, honestly. It's one of the good bat variants we have. The next fig to talk about is the Damian Wayne Robin. And again, as I said in my last DC ranking, I really do think this is a good version of the fig. This one is slightly different from that one in that it has a different cape and a different hood. Now, depending on who you are, you may like the new cape, you may like the older one. This one's a bit longer. It has a bit more spikes at the bottom. I think it does help differentiate him, and it makes the small look big, to be honest. I think the head's also great. Obviously looks right for a bratty Damian Wayne. And the torso is also pretty solid. It's not my favorite Robin torso of all time, but I don't have any complaints about it. Next up, we have Talia al Ghul. Obviously, this woman is a fucking ghoul for what she did to my boy Bats. Listen, everyone needs consent in their life, and this fucking bitch doesn't understand that, so you need to tell her that. Anyways, the fig itself, it's solid. You know, it's nothing too special, but to be honest, Talia al Ghul's design is not that special. I think the best part about the fig is the torso itself. You know, it has some nicely shaped lines on the body. It also has really cool zipper detailing with that zipper print on the front, you know, down about halfway. I think that looks super nice in my opinion. And the belt looks cool, of course, having the loop printed on there. That's just such nice little detailing that I do like. Her face is just basic Wonder Woman 2012 face, and her hair is like the 2012 Black Widow hair, but in black, which is perfectly fine by me, to be honest. I don't need much more from Talia al Ghul than like what they gave her here. Then we have the Ra's fig, which I truly believe is one of the best figs for a Batman villain we've ever gotten. I genuinely think he's basically a perfect fig. I know some people may not like the torso design, especially because it's not very intricate. It's very bland and basic detailing, but I don't need too much here. I don't personally see a reason for it. I think it would just be nonsense. I mean, it may be cool, but it would look like, again, one of those disgusting looking knockoff. I guess the only other criticism you could come up with is the hair. I'm sure some people maybe like that Doctor Strange hair, you know, the one I'm talking about from like 2018. I'm sure some people may like that hair more than this one. Personally, I don't see an issue with this. This just reminds me of like Lego Batman 1 and 2 when he had the old Joker hair, but now he gets the new Joker hair. I don't mind it at all. I think it's good for his detailing. Not to mention, of course, the white wings, which obviously are great. The face print's phenomenal. I'm sure some people may not like that you don't get a young version that isn't angry, you know, all Lazarus up. But personally, for the story of the set and for Ra's al Ghul, I think it's really cool. Considering you could, in this set, throw him into the Lazarus pit, make him go from that old face to that new rejuvenated angry face. I think that's awesome. Also, the cape's fantastic, but you didn't need me to say that, to be honest. A real solid group of figs. Moving on, we have the builds. I'll start out with the Bat Dune Buggy. I personally do like this build. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it does do some things well. I really love the color incorporation, especially of the dark tan. Again, desert setting, you know, very Son of the Demon-esque. They also add some gold to the side, of course, with stickers, so I guess if you really hate stickers, you won't like it, but personally, I don't really care, to be honest. It looks fine either way, in my opinion. When you pair those with the trans yellow and the dark flat gray, I think they all look sick, in my opinion, and they all make this nice combination. I do have to praise that this is a side build as well. It's not the main build. The fact is, this is a great Bat vehicle side build. Usually, Bat vehicle side builds aren't that great, but here, we get a good one. It's a solid build. One thing I don't like about it is a little rudimentary, personally, in my opinion. The tiling's a bit off all around. You know, there's a lot of exposed studs. There's stud shooters in the front to show that. It just reminds me a lot of, like, a Junior's build, but with, you know, non-Junior's parts. It's a solid build overall, though. Then we move on to the Lazarus pit, which is a very small Lazarus pit because obviously they can't make a big one for a $30 set when they have these other two builds. I don't mind it for what it is, honestly. The sticker detailing I think is cool on that little play feature you have there where you can flick up, which I don't think works that well in my opinion, to be honest, because there's no studs for him to stand on when you flick them up, so it doesn't make sense. But it's a decent build. I do like the shape of it. I do like that they did actually put some Lazarus goo in there, so, you know, he could go in there and canonically make sense. It's a whatever solid side build. Then we have the main build of the set, which is the Ghul little layer area. Now, if you've seen any of my rankings, you know I'm a sucker for these kind of builds, so it probably won't surprise you when I say I actually really like this build. I know a lot of people don't like it. They think it's just kind of a meh build with no purpose. But to me, it has some cool detailing. First off, the jail cell is really nice and has a really cool play feature where you could pop the cell door off. Not to mention the tiling all around it's cool with those wedges. I think that looks nice. I also like the big doors. Those look fantastic in my opinion. Those truly add on to the aesthetic of the set of being like a hidden desert fortress. Now, for me, when I see the play features on these doors, I don't really like them actually. From having this set for a long time, I can tell you carrying it's a little bit of a pain because the doors will fall off easily. It's not the most stable thing in the world, but the looks are like perfect. I also like the sticker here where we get the instructions of how to do Lazarus, which is an interesting thing. I think it's really cool. Also the little, you know, Lazarus rat at the bottom or whatever that is. That's cool. Also, whenever we get these stair pieces, that's a fucking highlight. These, you know, cheese block stairs. I adore these things. The greatest bricks of all time. And the axe play feature's all right. It works pretty well. Overall, I just think this is a really solid set. Always liked it, and I will continue to. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76086, Nightcrawler Tunnel Attack. This set has some sensational figs and a fantastic build. Starting with the figs, we gotta start out with the Batman. For me, this fig has to be in the LEGO Batman Hall of Fame as one of the best LEGO Batman figs we've ever gotten. I think it accentuates on the detailing we got on the BVS Batman, which translates perfectly here, whether that's with the new leg printing or the dual molding on the legs, which is really cool considering it's not an even mold. The headpiece is also phenomenal, of course, having that stubble like it did in the Flying Fox set. I think that's a fantastic detail and very accurate to Batfleck. The torso is literally the exact same as it is on the other Batfleck fig, so that just kind of shows they nailed it on the head the first time. I like this fig so much. Great fig. The next fig to talk about is the Flash. Now, this is obviously based off of Ezra Miller's character, you know, the greatest human being in the world.
Did you want to fight?
But that doesn't matter. What matters is the fig itself, and the fig is phenomenal in my opinion. It's honestly a top 5 fig for me. With all the intricate printing, with the patterns, whether the gray one that goes all around or the yellow shaping on the belt line and on the boots, which I think looks phenomenal, or even the Flash symbol itself feeling a little more jagged than on the other cartoony version. I also love the changing of colors all around on the fig where it goes from red to dark red. I think that looks awesome, and I think it looks better honestly than in the movie where it went from dark red to like black. I don't really like that nearly as much. I also got to mention the cowl piece is fantastic. Now, usually I actually like the external ears more, but it does make sense because this is based on the Justice League design, so it's fair game. Also, the face prints are solid, but there really isn't much there, to be honest. It's just cool little expressions. Overall, it's a really great fig. Then we move on to the build of the set, which is, of course, the aforementioned Nightcrawler. The Nightcrawler, baby. I'm gonna bet all my money down on the Nightcrawler, baby. My boy, I'm gonna win it all on the Nightcrawler, baby. Listen, I'll always stand up for the Nightcrawler. I know a lot of people don't like the build, and if you don't, respectfully,
you are a worthless bitch-ass nigga.
get a new pair of glasses, please, because this build is phenomenal. It's also famously based on the movie Nightcrawler featuring Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't even know why I said that. That's not true. Whether it's the Technic architecture or the polygonal shape, I think it's not only built well, but it's detailed fantastically. I really like the windshield here. I think that red pops off really nice, not to mention it's in that kind of hexagon shape, which I think looks really awesome, this kind of Nexo Knights part. I'm glad that they implemented it in the build, and I think even though there is a little gap in between where the windshield itself is and the actual build, it doesn't take away that much. They did their best with the tiling at the time to make it fit in there nicely, which I really like. I also actually like the placement of the stud cannons on the set. Believe it or not, I'm not the biggest fan of stud cannons, but here the way they're placed, you know, they're dual mounted on the back, evenly next, symmetrical with the windshield, which I think is fantastic. I really love the legs of this build. I think the way the wheels are implemented in the bottom is fantastic, and it makes it very mobile, and it actually works really well. Also, the little Technic designs around it with the arrows sticking out, I think that's cool. The play feature of the legs moving out so that it's supposed to to, you know, theoretically be in some mode where it could maybe drive up the walls, be in some battle mode, whatever it may be. While I personally don't really care about that play feature, I don't think it takes away from the set at all. The sticker detailing around is also all really cool. It's usually like this ventilation, you know, kind of Technic area, headlights and whatnot. It all looks really solid. And overall, this set just has a great build with a fantastic fig selection. Let's move on to the next set on the ranking. Up next on the ranking is set 76046, Heroes of Justice Sky High Battle. This set is obviously fantastic with great builds and a really awesome fig selection. By the way, funny little personal story. I got the set from a flea market in 2016 for about 30 big ones. And I remember it being in the original box scotch taped up. And the guy who I bought it from was like, yeah, you know, it might be the set. It might not be because he bought it from someone else. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it. And I got it and it was the original set and I was very happy. Anyways, let's get right into the minifigs. I've already talked about the Superman and the Batman. The only difference is the Superman has dual molded legs, but we all know that's an upgrade, so why even go on with that? Starting out, we have the Lois Lane, and I'm gonna be honest, I think this is a downgrade from the 2013 Lois Lane. Now, admittedly, the torso is solid. It, of course, gives off that business casual journalist vibe that, you know, they wear to their work. Double color, double printed shirt. That's also a big up. I like that detail. But I think the face is where my main gripe is with this fig. Now, I get it. Based off Amy Adams' Lois Lane, this is much more accurate than the other face from 2013. Like, that other face had 20 years onto it compared to this one. But that other face also had more character, in my opinion. I just thought the detailing was a lot nicer, personally. That's just my preference, though. Also, I believe that for the torso, I think there's just more character there. I think the printing's a little more detailed. I just like it. I think it looks better. I think it's a better version of this fig. This is a serviceable and alright fig. Now we move on to the Wonder Woman. Now, I looked at this fig and the other fig side by side, and they're pretty much the same fig, just with a different color scale. And yeah, it's still brilliant. Its detailing is so great. I still love everything about it. Again, those wrist guards are a fucking highlight, in my opinion. Just a fantastic fig. Now we move on to Lex Luthor. I only have one issue with this fig, and it is the headpiece. It just feels like a lazy thing to do. If they wanted to base this off Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, why not give him maybe a better headpiece, a more goofy looking, not like per se exactly goofy as hell, but maybe a more goofy expression, a more goofy look, instead of this stern look that we get here. This is literally 2012 Lex Luthor, except if you put hair on him. That's like the only difference I see here. And the hairpiece, it's probably the best choice, but at the end of the day, it's just whatever. The torso and legs, though, those are solid. I love getting a tan, nice little suit in Lego. Usually, we don't get that color scale. Usually, it's more darker blues, more grays, more blacks, more whites, stuff like that. But a tan look, that's a solid look right there. And it contrasts off the skin tone well. I think the main issue Lego would have making this fig would be getting the contrast right, but it works here and it looks solid. Overall, I think it's a solid fig. I just change the headpiece and it would be 10 times better in my opinion. Moving on to the two builds of the set, we're going to start out with the LexCorp Chopper. Fantastic helicopter build. As you all know, I love these villain helicopter builds. The Joker ones were amazing. And this one's almost on the same scale as that. I think it's built extremely well. I love the way that the windshield is hinged in there. They built an axis on where you could build the top and then put the windshield piece in, so they didn't use a proprietary part. They actually used a part that normally wouldn't be like a windshield on a helicopter, but they got it in there, which I think looks fantastic. Not to mention, they put on the end a little hinge where you get some lights showing out and it connects perfectly in. I think that's fantastic. Also, the LexCorp sticker, of course, we're keeping up continuity here from our other BVS set with LexCorp in it. Also, this green color looks awesome. We've gotten a green helicopter after this, but for Riddler, and it's not nearly as good as this one. So seeing a good green helicopter in Lego DC, I think is awesome. I love a lot of the way this thing is built. I love the way that the tail is built. They didn't just use one of those normal truss pieces. They actually used a bunch of these 2x2 rounded bricks, and they stacked them back with a Technic pin in the middle. That's awesome building, in my opinion. That makes it as sturdy as it can go, pretty much, which is fantastic. You're never going to be able to bend in or break that back half, which I think is great. Also, the propellers are really sturdy, considering it is built with a Technic brick where they use one of those axle pins and they stick it through the middle, and the middle is combined to the long propeller blades, which are awesome, by the way. I love these parts, and it all connects together and it's perfectly sturdy. It spins as fast as you can. It won't break apart. I really do enjoy it. Overall, this is such a solid build. Moving on to the Batwing, and what an interesting build this is. Now, if you did a 1x1 1-by-1 comparison of this Batwing to the BVS Batwing in the movie, you'd see they're pretty damn close. The screen accuracy is on point here. I mean, if you really care about that, then you'd really like that. But for me personally, I'm looking more for a good build, and I think this is a good build. We gotta talk about the frame and the structure itself. The fact that it's built in this V shape that's not only sturdy, but looks fantastic with the way they tiled the edges off. The play feature here is actually really awesome, where you can fold the wings in to make it in some battle mode or some, you know, little compact mode. That looks nice in my opinion. Not only does it look nice, but it's actually really well built, where you bend this back part up and it bends that whole build up, which is really impressive in my opinion, just showing the quality standard that the Lego bricks have. The little winglets at the end are cool as well, and I also like the cockpit area. Of course, the same parts that are used in the BVS Batmobile, adding them here adds nice continuity between both of the builds and is super awesome. Overall, this set is fantastic. I really like it. I've always liked it. Now let's move on to the number 1 set on this ranking. In first place on the ranking is set 76052, Batman Classic TV Series, Batcave. Now, what's there to say? You guys can just tell by looking at this. This is a phenomenal set. Each minifig in the set is unique, so we're going to start out by looking at the Batman. We got the Adam West version of Batman over here. This is the first one we got in Lego, and honestly, the best one. It's much more accurate than the newer one. The color scheme is a lot darker, which is actually how it looks in the show. It doesn't look so bright or washed out like it does on the newer fig, and I like it more here. I love the way the dark blue pops off with that slightly lighter blue. The bat symbol looks fantastic. It's tiny, but it looks great. They even have the little, you know, the little moob printing, which I think is an awesome detail. The bat symbol has a really cool emblem in the middle, which is fantastic. And the cowl piece is awesome with those lines. I love that detail. That's phenomenal. Next up is the Burt Ward Robin. Now, this Robin fig is phenomenal. Whether it's the leg print, where we have 2 green patterns, of course, with the Speedo and the boots and the skin tone in between, which looks fantastic. I think that's the perfect way of emulating this character instead of just going full green or full, you know, skin tone legs. I also love that the red from the torso interloops in the waist. That's awesome. The torso itself is also great. It has these cool laces in the middle, which of course are kind of an homage to the old design. Of course, the Flying Grayson's design has that, which looks awesome. The utility belt's interesting. It's kind of compact. It looks like, you know, it's an accordion moving in. It's like that snake skin form. It looks cool, honestly. There is a slight issue with the face, where they probably should have gone with eyes with pupils instead of the plain white. I think that would be a lot better. It would be accurate to the character, but it's not the biggest deal. The print otherwise is pretty good, actually, and the hairpiece is solid. Then we have the Bruce Wayne, and this is a fantastic version of Bruce Wayne. One of my favorites we've ever gotten in Lego. The real highlight on him is his torso. It gives off this cool, you know, kind of 60s yacht vibe. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but kind of this yacht rock vibe. You know, I can see this guy going out on his fishing trips with Robin, you know, listening to some Steely Dan, some nice calm music. It's gonna be great. I think the emblem slash patch, whatever that is, really helps enhance that. Not to mention the undershirt, which I believe is actually an ascot, which has a cool pattern on it, which is really nice. It's such a nice torso. The head print's also pretty decent. I think the smile looks nice, and it's unique. You know, it's not just the same old straight face print. Overall, a really solid fig. Then we have the Dick Grayson, which also gives off the same vibe as this Bruce Wayne, and I think that's really shown in the torso with, of course, that colored shirt with the sweater above. You know, me and my boys rocking this fit to the club, you feel me? It is a good look, though, for this version of Dick Grayson. Of course, very campy 60s version, you know, supposed to be innocent, and that's supposedly innocent look, this kind of frat boyish look. The headpiece is pretty cool. I do like the long face and, you know, the eyebrows, of course, being non-symmetrical. I think that looks cool. And overall, I think it's a solid version of Dick Grayson. It's the only real Lego Dick Grayson we've ever gotten, considering every time Lego makes a Batcave, we get Bruce Wayne, no Dick Grayson, which is unfortunate. I would like more, but this is a great version and kind of, you know, it's basic, so it works for pretty much almost every version. Next is the Alfred, who's great in my opinion. He looks so much like the 1966 Alfred. Like, the resemblance is uncanny here. Whether it's the face print with his bushy mustache and eyebrows, or it's the hairpiece, you know, looking oddly similar to his hair in the show, it's really solid. He has a decent, you know, black suit torso. It's not like anything special, so there's nothing to ramble about, but it's solid and it's a good fig. Moving on to the villains, of course, we start out with Batman's main villain, the Joker. Of course, this is based off of Cesar Romero's interpretation. And otherwise than a slight difference in the torso and the headpiece being completely different, this is the same version as we get in 2021. I do think this one is a little better as well. I say that mainly because I like the face print here a lot. I think that's just peak Joker. Also, the second face print's really cool. It's a face Cesar Romero made a ton of times while playing the Joker, so it's great to see here. His torso and legs are fantastic. Of course, getting it in that pink color is awesome. I love the pinstripe detail we get on the legs, and I think a lot of the suit jacket detail on the torso is solid. A phenomenal fig, and one of the best ways they could have gone about making this version of the character. Moving on, we have the Penguin. This is by far the least exclusive fig of the set, considering no parts on him are exclusive, which is fine. That doesn't deter the fig at all. What does, though, for me, though, is just its uniqueness. It isn't very unique at all, and that's not because of the part selection. That's more because what it's based on isn't very unique, and the fact is when you want to add unique features, Lego really has a limitation of doing that, considering they'd have to add like that cool ass cigar he has, but of course they can't add that because it is a children's toy. The torso and head print are solid, and I like the hat. I really like the hat. It's only come in a couple other sets. I believe this is actually the first set it did come in, so that's awesome. I love the color. I think the color works here great. I think for a 1966 Penguin, it works fine. I do wish it was a little more exclusive. Maybe it had some nose printing, something like that. I know that doesn't always look great, but here I think it would have been nice. Overall, it's an okay fig. Then we move on to the Riddler. This is a good fig. I like this Riddler. Let me just say this. Printing, there's basically none of it. But really, there isn't supposed to be a lot of it. If you've seen the original show, you've seen the Riddler from that show, you see he's just wearing a jumpsuit with a question mark on it. Like, what are you supposed to add there? And I think they put the right part choices here, especially with that hair piece. The face has some cool designs, especially those wrinkles and that powder purple mask. I think that looks awesome. The powder purple on the torso and hands is also great. I love the continuity they have there with those being on basically the same level. So that looks great. I do like the question mark print as well. It is unique. And yeah, comparing it to the original Riddler, this is a great fig. The last fig to talk about is the Catwoman. This is a solid Catwoman. This is a solid fig in general. I think the hair piece with the cat ears is a fantastic detail and a fantastic mold. I'm glad Lego went the extra mile of adding that and not making a separate mold in there to where it would look really weird. The torso also has some great printing in this beautiful bronze color to show off the jewelry. I think that looks really nice. I like the little dot printing in the middle, you know, showing some little stray areas in the suit. I think that's great. The face print's solid. The second face is also pretty solid. I think the mask version looks pretty good, but the print without it's fine. Overall, it's a really solid fig in a selection of fantastic figs. Let's move on to the builds. The first build I'm going to talk about is the Batmobile. Now, of course, the 1966 Batmobile we got a couple of years ago is better than this one, but this one is still fantastic, especially as an add-on to the set. I think there's some really cool and interesting ideas here. I think the little winglets in the back are really cool. I think that's a good way of making it look kind of like the ridgeback from the 1966 show. I also like the two exhaust pipes in the back. I think those are a cool little detail. The angled windshields are really nice. I love the parts they use here. They're perfect for this purpose. I know they could have made some specially molded part, but that would have been way too big and just not necessary. If there's one issue with this build, it's probably stud shooters, but that's not even saying much. I think the stickers in the middle are really cool. You have a lot of cool details. This is something that the other Batmobile doesn't have as good. The stickers here are a lot nicer, especially that one up the middle. I think that's fantastic. The way that Lego incorporates red on this build is also awesome. The red stripe at the bottom just looks so nice, and the way it bounces off that black is like perfection. I know it's based off the design, and that's what the design was like, but I love that design, and Lego did it great here. They've done it better after, but this is still a great, I know a little elementary, but still a great version of it. Then we move on to the Batcopter, and this has to be one of, if not the best Lego Batcopter we've ever gotten. I love this build so much. Now, I know what you're saying, oh, how could this be the best? It's not the most fulfilled, you know, it's pretty small, honestly, compared to other copters. Now, I've already talked about how much I do not like the 2016 one from that Harvester set, and the 2014 and 7 one are both really good in their own sense. This one is just so unique. I think it might be my favorite. Whether it's the color scheme, which is like red and white, which is fantastic, or it's the cool propeller build, or the admittedly nice looking wings on the side, there is so much uniqueness offered here that we don't get out of the other Batcopters. The one thing it's missing is the ladder, the rope ladder, of course, for some shark repellent. That's not here, but it's all right. We still have some cool detailing, like these bat symbol stickers on the side, of course, just like on the Batmobile, and I think they fit in here really nice on that red background. There's also a really cool sticker on the tail fin, which looks nice and is obviously a reference to how it looks on the actual Batcopter. The only issue with it is on that Batcopter, it's on the underside, but here it's on the overside. I'm sure they could have done some type of inverted stud or snot method to get it done. But since since they didn't, it's fine. It looks all right. It honestly might look better than they would have just trying to do that. And I think it's a great Batcopter. Moving on to the Batcave builds, there are 3 segments. I'm going to start out with the smaller one with the helipad and the Batmobile parking area. I think this one is actually really nice. I think the helipad's fantastic. It has a huge sticker on top, which looks really nice. Also, on all these builds, it has this nice dark tan rock work on the side, which looks phenomenal. I'm glad they didn't just go with gray. Dark tan, of course, is accurate to the Batcave in the show, so it's really cool to see here. The parking space is nice. Of course, they tile off the areas for the wheels to go on. Moving to the second area, it's kind of this big open area with this mechanical area in the middle, probably a maintenance area. Not really the back computer per se, but it's still fantastic nonetheless. I love them using the little tape recorder pieces or the little pillars on top that are bent in. I think that looks really cool. I also just love the rock work here as well. It looks phenomenal. Then we move on to the best tower, which is this area with the fireman poles and the little Wayne Manor area. This is a phenomenal area. I really love the wallpaper texture printed on these bricks. That looks so good. And the fact is you can intersect them however you want and they still like kind of line up. That's fantastic. I also love the pictures of Martha and Thomas Wayne on the side symmetrical with each other. That just looks super nice. Of course, there's the phenomenal play feature with the bookshelf opening to where you have a pole that says Dick and Bruce, in which both of them can ride down the fire pole and go to the bottom. That's phenomenal. And the part they use for the fire pole is great because it gets to spin them around, which just looks really cool. Can't forget to mention the Shakespeare head lifting up. That's such a great Easter egg. Again, there's also a great rock work here. And this thing is built so spectacularly. The fact that this little thin slivers could hold up that nice area up top, I think that's incredible. The exterior on this is really cool as well. It clearly shows kind of this residential area. I like the little shingles on the roof, and of course the orange color for the wall bounces super nice with those green plants and the tan bricks mixed with that. I think that looks amazing. I think this is an incredible build, and I think this is an incredible set. I want to thank everyone for sticking around to the end of this video. I know most of you probably haven't, but for any of you who have, thank you. I also got to thank everyone for being with me for 10 whole years. I know basically nobody has been here since the beginning, so the fact is that we have some people who have even been here since like 2017 who are still watching is absurd. But I've been doing this for 10 years now on this channel. Of course, I have a channel before, so I mean that's just insane, making Lego videos for 10 years, you know, basically half my life. So I mean that's just a lot. Hope you enjoyed the new style of the ranking. I just decided to add some more visual aspects, you know, add a little couple more funny edits or whatever. I just think that's more a personality thing, but also something to make it more visually interesting for the people who care about the visuals in these videos, you know, so it's not 10 seconds of a still image, just still, you know, not moving at all. And most people just find that annoying and think this is just a lazily made video. Me personally, I like the new style. It's much harder to edit, so it's gonna take longer on these rankings, but you guys are already used to waiting long, considering I don't make these really as often as I did like 2020, 2021, and that's mainly because I have a lot more going on outside of YouTube. I do try to make these when I can, though. I maybe get another one out this year. Don't bet anything on that. I doubt it. I bet you it would be more like January when my next ranking comes out. Already have it planned. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm coming for you. 2025. Let's fucking go.